Well, good morning, folks. This is Shop Talk. I am Buck, and welcome to my shop. Today we're going to be talking about my tool rest on my bench grinder. I got a question about the angle. How do you repeat the angle? And that's important. That's important, and I'll explain to you why that's important, to be able to get the same angle every time. Whether you're sharpening lathe tools or your chisels or your plane blades, you want to go back to that same spot. And the reason being, if you go back to that same exact angle and you grind, you're going to spend less time grinding, because if you're 1 degree off one way or the other, or 1.5 degrees, you got to now take that plane blade or the chisel or lathe tool or whatever you're sharpening. Now you got to make that plane blade or that chisel the same angle that's now that you're set on. In other words, you're wasting metal. It's taking longer to grind. So it is important to be able to go back to the same spot, and I'm going to show you how I take it back to the same spot. On that platform, to get the angle you're looking for, what I had done in the past, which I'll show you my new method, is take a piece of 1/4 inch plywood and design it to where I'm laying flat on the tool rest, and I fix it in such a way that I'm hitting 2 points on the wheel. In other words, I can take it and go back to that same spot every time. But Raptor makes some at I'll leave a link in the description to that, and I'll show them to you here in a second. They've made a set of gauges, set up tools, or whatever you want to call these things, that do the same thing I'm talking about, but it's set to a specific angle from 35 to 60 degrees. I think it's a 35, 40, 45, 50, and 60. I think it's 5 of them. And that'll take care of anything you do on the lathe tools. Whether, for instance, the 60 degree takes care of when you're turning a bowl. It's what's called a bottom feeder. So you can get in them bottoms better. So each one has a specific task. So what we're talking about specifically right here, he was asking about how you get this angle back to the same spot every time when you re-sharpen. So what I do, I've got these Raptor tools. Like I say, I'll leave a link in the description where I got these. See, you've got on this tool rest here, you got 2 ways to move this thing: in and out, horizontally, and up and down here. So by doing those 2 motions to the wheel, you come up with an angle. And what this does, it'll give that to you. For instance, you set that on your tool rest, and you do both actions, maintaining this setting flat on the tool rest. You move it forward, up and down until, see, right there it is, right there, tight, until this point and this point hits the wheel, while maintaining while maintaining sitting flat on this. And that puts this at 35 degrees. I got one for 40 degrees, 45, 50, and 60. The thing about it is, when you're doing all of this will work for my lathe tools. The thing about it is, chisels set at 25 degrees. And I'm going to get me a set, or I may just grind me a set at 17 for the softwood. Wouldn't need a whole set if I had a couple of sizes where I could get, but anyway, that's a different story. But anyway, I'll have to figure that angle out, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It only goes to 35 degrees. Well, I need a 25. My plane blades, I make them 25, so it's beveled down. So the frog is sitting at 45, so that, but I grind my plane blades on 25, my chisels on 25, so I need a 25. So this Oneway by Wolverine is the system I'm using. And you mount it to, I got it mounted to a piece of plywood that bench hooks, but where you put this thing, yours might not be dead like mine, but what I have found is I can slide this thing horizontal all the way till it bottoms out and then tighten it right there. And then I'll take this flat piece here, and I've got a digital angle finder. I will leave a link in the description for that. This thing here it's really surprised me. It's about 30 bucks. So I thought, well, it's worth a chance. So I went ahead and got it, and I'm surprised how accurate this thing is. I can put this on my table saw blade and turn it to where it says 45 degrees, and I can cut some miners, and it matches up. I mean, I'm quite impressed with this. So, but this is what I use. It's magnetic, so it'll sit right there. However, what you have to do, I set it right here, because this will be relative to everything up here. In other words, if you set this on a different bench and if it's a little out, this right here will be relative to this. So if you come in and well, okay. You want to take your time and make sure you get it set up right, and that way the angle will be the same. So I zero it out right over this right here, because like I say, it's relative to this. And what I have found, if I set this on 46.5 degrees, this will be a 25 degree. So if you'll see here, when I set this, .46, where am I at? And what it will do, okay, what it'll do, it pays to take your time and get this thing right, because a little bit makes a difference. So what I have done, I can take my chisels, now I can grind them. That's the angle, or plane blades, that's the angle that I grind them both at. That becomes, by the time, see, it's hard to get, well, who made these? Made it for lathe tools, and there's nothing in the lathe tools that you need a 25. But I've thought about making something like this, to where it hits on 2 points and lay down here, and that'll give you 25 degrees. I'm seriously thinking about it. If I had some scrap 1/8 inch plywood, 1/4 inch plywood, I can make something that looks like this that'll give me the 25 degrees. But you gotta have something. There's no markings, nothing, no dials. I mean, it is what it is. And you have to have something like this, or homemade, or something like this, to find the angle so you can go back to it the same every time. But see, when I do my chisels, this roughs it in, then I have stones that puts that fine edge on it. And it'll liable to be a year, depending on how much I use them, before I have to come back and dress that angle back up. because once you're on your stones, that bevel gets longer and longer and longer. It takes longer and longer and longer to get that fine edge, and sometimes you kind of get off and you come back and need to put you right. I got me some vertical lines to hold them where I can, but I don't do that very often. Maybe once a year I'll dress them back up. Some of them a little more often than that, because some chisels use more than others, and so forth and so on. But anyway, that's the way I do it, and get this tool rest the same every time, and it works. It's your. A lot of times I'll come up and I'll make one pass, and you can tell it done the whole thing. Or if you're just working down here and just get the bottom part, and then you've changed the angle. It's a 24 degree or 26 degree, and there's a lot of grinding to get it to where it was at. This way, you're on 25 every time. This way, you're on 35 every time, and so on. Saves your tools, saves time grinding. I don't know anybody that likes to grind their tools, but it's just something you've got to do from time to time. See, the gauge is set on 25 degrees. So that winds up being 25 degrees. That's the way, the most accurate way that I found to do it. I'm sure there's other ways to do it too, but the point is, what you want to do, or whatever method you use, is to get that tool rest right back where it was at. And I like the Oneway by Wolverine. It just, for doing the lathe tools and stuff, I mean, I've seen other sharpenings, and it's all good, but what I did, I bought a lathe. What it is, where I was working, I was on salary, and we lost our plant operator, and I was the only water plant operator that we had, and I was, you know, so I had to take call. We had another guy that his duties was other things, but he could take call for the water plant. And the way they did it, this guy was on 2 weeks, this guy was on 2 weeks, and so when we lost that guy, I filled in until we could get a replacement. And it was a few months. I mean, the water plant operators just don't fall off trees. I mean, you got to do some hunting. So, me being on salary, for every time I was on call, they give me amount of money extra. So I just took that money and put it back while we were doing that call business. And so, in a few months, we got a plant operator and got him up to speed and so forth and so on. So I was able to come off of that. So I took that money and bought a lathe, and I bought a kit, that RIKON 8-inch bench grinder, and I bought extra CBN wheels, so that don't change, and the one-way grinding system. And I'm proud I did, because that's a pretty good system. Without just, I mean, you pay for it, but there's some systems out there, it'd be nice to have, them water systems and stuff like that, but golly bum, you will pay for them. But this is good. It's done me well. I got my little routine down, how I'll sharpen this and that. And the thing I've learned about sharpening, so I got it on the end of my bench over here with my stones. And you can come over here, and I'll spend less than a minute tuning the edge up. When you're over here working, you walk over here in less than a minute, come right back and go to work. You'll come near working with a sharp chisel or sharp plane blade, because you ain't pulling your stuff out and you know, taking 20 minutes to get that edge. This way, what I have learned, if you got the room to set it up, because if you got to pull it out, odds are you'll find an alternate way of doing it, or just go with a little duller chisel. Because a lot of times when you're working with your chisel, paring out or whatever you're doing, when you get down to the end, that's when you go back, put that fine edge, put that last little bit on it. But if it takes you 20 minutes to pull everything out, chances are you'll just finish it up with a duller chisel, you know. So that's why I got it set the way I got it. Like turning on the lathe. What you'll do, you'll get it down there pretty close. And when I turned a lot, I'm not turning as much now as I was, but when you get real close, what I do, I'll go and sharpen the tool for that final pass or two. And when I'm turning all the time, there has been times that I'm not putting sandpaper on it. I mean, I come right off the tool with a good finish. But you got to do it all the time. You got to spend hours over there. But I hadn't been able to do it for one reason or another. I worked on the dry sink and stuff like that. I'd like to build me I'm thinking about, y'all tell me what y'all think. These turtle top tables, you know, with them designs, you got a design on top, then you got your router business, you put panels put together, you got the skirts, and I was talking about a 6-leg one. So you got the angles to figure, but the legs has got pommels and turned on the lathe. So you got lathe work, router work, you've got a little bit of everything in a turtle top table. And I think when they're done right, that's a pretty piece of furniture. Thinking about doing one of them. Right now, I got to come up with some wood, you know, so I may have to go to the wood getting place, if you know what I mean. They got one up here in Tellico that I've been told about. I hadn't visited it yet, but it was highly recommended. I may run up there and just see what they got. But I know we got one downtown Chattanooga. They got some stuff down there, but it depends on when you go where they've got. I mean, it's one of them that it kind of moves through. You really kind of keep an eye on it. But I think Tellico is all domestic wood, you know, walnut, oak, cherry, that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm running low of, if you know what I mean. So I got one more thing. It refers to the lathe. I don't know, nobody's commented on this. I'm just wondering, y'all leave in a comment why I got this. And the next, and what this is for and why it's sitting up there. Because, you know, I'm curious what y'all think why I have that. And the next shop talk, I'll tell you why I got that and how come it to be. I'd be anxious to see some comments on that, because this right here is, I decided to go ahead and put some finish on it, but if I ain't careful, I'll tell too much. But oh gosh, you know how, well, I almost messed up. So I'm gonna leave that right there with you. And I hope you learned something right there. This is the way I do it, but you gotta go, a tool rest has gotta go back to the same spot, or you're throwing away your tool. You're grinding your your tool away. So spend less time sharpening, get the right edge, kind of save your tool. There's reasons why you need to do that. So I'm gonna leave that with you. Y'all have a wonderful week, and I will catch y'all on the next one. And y'all leave a comment right there. See what y'all think. Okay, y'all got some good imaginations, and I get some good comments on this channel. Real good comments. And good questions too. That was a good question on that tool rest. So I will catch y'all on the next one.